Hey guys, tonight we're going back, not to a battlefield, not to a palace, somewhere much more dangerous, a soggy field in 1457 Scotland. That's right. You're not a knight, you're not a monk, you're not even particularly important, you're something worse. You're a man who just really wants to play golf. The problem? Golf is illegal. So tonight, you'll wake up as the kind of person who risks royal punishment just to hit a leather-wrapped ball into a rabbit hole with a stick you carved yourself. Before we begin, go ahead and like the video, but only if you genuinely enjoy falling asleep to 2 hours of whispered medieval nonsense. And tell me where you're listening from and what time it is there. I'm always curious who else is losing sleep across time zones. Now, dim the lights. Turn on a little fan for background hum. Slide under the blanket and let's ease into your one day as Scotland's most underwhelming outlaw. You wake up in the dark, not dramatic dark, just Scottish cottage dark, the kind that smells like damp wool and old bread. The ceiling is low. Your head already hurts. The bed is straw. The blanket is sackcloth. The only softness in the room is your dream of getting just one peaceful round in before someone from the church accuses you of summoning demons with a swing. You sit up. The floor is cold. Everything is cold, except your right knee, which, for some reason, burns. Possibly gout. Possibly revenge for what you did to the bishop's fence last week with your backswing. You look around. There's your club, hiding under the cot, wrapped in cloth like it's cursed. Which, legally speaking, it might as well be. Because last month, King James II banned golf. He said it distracted from archery practice, which is fair, but also rude. You unwrap the club, just to check it's still there. Still solid, still carved from the leg of a chair you found in a monastery dump. Still yours. The door creaks, not open, just judgmentally. Your wife stirs. You're not going out again, she says, half asleep, half exhausted, half widow in advance. You lie. No, just to fetch water. She groans, rolls over. You pull on your boots. They're still wet from last time. You haven't played golf in a week, but your boots have never forgiven you. You grab your pouch. Inside, 3 balls, all hand-stitched, all imperfect. One is shaped more like a grape than a sphere. That's your best one. You look out the window. It's not raining yet, which means today might be your last chance, or your worst mistake. You open the door. The wind greets you like a slap from a familiar aunt. Affectionate, but cruel. The field waits. The grass is wet. The sheep are watching. Somewhere in the distance, a priest sneezes. You step out. Just a few holes. No one will notice, probably. The walk to your secret course is slippery, long, and deeply undignified. You call it a course, but it's really just the South Meadow. A patch of lumpy earth with bad drainage and angry geese. You call it Hole 1, but there's no hole, just a flat stone someone once mistook for a cursed relic. You aimed for it by accident once, now it's tradition. You trudge past the village green, a few eyes peer through shutters. They're not looking at you, they're looking at the idea of you. Which is worse. You hold the club close, wrapped in cloth, tied with twine. You look like a monk carrying forbidden scripture or a baker sneaking a very long loaf. You pass the blacksmith's shop. He sees you, he nods, not friendly, just resigned. You used to play together, then he got married. Then he got caught. Now he sharpens things instead of swinging them. You reach the hill, climb slowly. The wind picks up. It always does when you're about to tee off, like nature itself is trying to interrupt your form. You reach the stone, the tee box as you've always called it, which confuses everyone because no one in the village owns a box or drinks tea. You unwrap your club. It's crude, heavy, slightly curved, like a walking stick with commitment issues. You place your best ball on the grass. It leans to one side, as if nervous. You take a stance, left foot forward, right foot wetter than expected. You exhale, you swing, and slice it into a thistle patch, so aggressively that even the local crows flinch. You sigh. Hole 1, bogey. Technically, no one's keeping score, except you, and regret. You march after the ball. Thistles lash at your shins like angry monks. You apologize, out loud, just in case. You find the ball, it's under a nettle. You poke it gently with the club. It does not respond. You line up again, a second shot. Straighter, lower. It skims over a puddle, bounces twice, and lands 1 arm's length from the sheep. The sheep look at you, 3 of them, all chewing, all judging. You nod in apology. One of them blinks slowly, as if to say, "You again." You walk up to the ball. The grass is longer here. The smell is worse, not sheep, something older. You look up. The chapel tower is just barely visible beyond the trees. You shouldn't be this close. Last time you swung near the churchyard, someone mistook your backswing for a summoning ritual. You explain this to your ball. It remains unmoved. You take a third swing. It soars. Not beautifully, but effectively. It lands near the burnt stump you pretend is hole 2. You grin, briefly, then realize someone is watching. A figure, on the ridge. Motionless. Could be a traveler. Could be a priest. Could be that chicken again. You stare back. The wind moves your hair slightly. Just enough to look mystical if taken out of context. The figure turns, walks away. You don't know if that's a good sign. You collect the ball, wrap the club, begin walking again. You've played 2 holes. The air smells like wet soil and approaching consequences. You think, just 1 more shot, then you'll go home. Then maybe you'll burn the club. Again, you set up for the next hole. Hole 3. Or as you've always called it, the graveyard fade. Not because it curves left. Because it curves through the old graveyard, which the villagers say is haunted by monks who died from boredom, possibly while watching you line up a putt. You crouch. You place the ball on a bare patch of earth. Not because it's flat, because it's not currently on fire, wet, or full of goats. You grip the club. You raise it. You pause, because suddenly, a chicken, standing directly in front of the ball, blocking it, unbothered. It's the same chicken from last week. You know this because it has a limp and a certain air of religious disappointment. You sigh. It blinks. You say, "Please." It does not move. You wave the club gently. It moves closer. You consider speaking in Latin. The chicken might understand. Instead, you take 3 steps back. Breathe. Look to the sky for advice. The sky says clouds, and possibly rain. You swing. Not at the chicken. Around it. A careful arc. A majestic sweep. You hit the ball. The chicken flaps violently, squawks once, then runs. Not away, alongside the ball. You both watch it land. The chicken stops, stares at you, like it's impressed or planning a formal complaint. You nod respectfully. It pecks the grass, then waddles off like a judge leaving the courtroom. You retrieve the ball. It's resting between 2 oddly shaped stones. One might be a burial marker. One might be a lump of ancient cheese. You decide not to investigate. You move to hole 4, which isn't a hole. It's just a mossy log that sounds like applause when you hit it. You set the ball. You aim. You swing. The ball rolls 3 feet and hits your own foot. You stare at it. It stares back. You whisper, "Traitor." A crow caws, mockingly. You consider yelling at it. Then remember the bishop's warning about talking back to omens. You pick up the ball. You glance around. Still no sign of authority. But you feel it. That hum in the back of your neck. The village is noticing, not with eyes, with thoughts. You swing again, better, almost elegant. The ball sails toward the edge of the pasture and lands with a bounce that feels too perfect. You smile, for the first time today. Then you hear the bell. Not a church bell, not a dinner bell, a warning bell. Far away, but not far enough. You freeze. The last time that bell rang, someone had spoken Latin without a license. You pick up your club, wrap it quickly, grab your pouch, tuck the ball inside. You walk, fast then slower, casual speed, the speed of a man who definitely wasn't golfing. You reach the ridge, you glance behind, the chicken is gone, but the judgment remains. You descend toward the village, club wrapped, hands sweaty, knees regretful. Your foot slips, you land in mud, your ball pouch splits, one ball escapes. It rolls down the hill past the blacksmith shop and comes to rest at the boots of the priest. You exhale through your teeth. He picks it up, turns it over, looks up at you. He says nothing, just places it in his pocket and walks toward the church. You stand there, wet, cold, and now one stroke closer to damnation. You decide to go home, not because you're tired, not because you've learned, but because the priest now has your ball, and that changes the weather. Not literally, but it feels like it. You wrap your club tighter, like it's cold, like it's sick, like maybe if it looks pitiful enough, it won't get burned later. The wind picks up, not just wind, the kind that whispers names in barley. You walk past the green again. Mrs. Edna is hanging laundry. She sees you, sees the cloth bundle under your arm, nods like she knows what's inside. Spoiler, she doesn't, but she's gonna guess anyway. You speed up, you reach your door, open it, close it behind you fast enough to feel safe, but not loud enough to look guilty. Inside, dim, soggy, catless, you sit, you unwrap the club, set it on the table like a weapon from a forgotten war. There's still mud on it. You wipe it off with your sleeve. Regret is an excellent polish. Your wife enters from the back room. She sees you, sees the club, sighs. The kind of sigh that comes with a second marriage proposal and a prenup made of whispered warnings. She says nothing. Just places a bowl of stew in front of you. Steam rises. Slow. Suspicious. You eat. Not because you're hungry, because it gives your hands something to do besides tremble. Halfway through the bowl, she asks, "Did you play again?" You say, "No." You make eye contact with the stew. It doesn't believe you either. She nods. Not because she believes you, because she's tired of not believing you. You finish eating. She takes the bowl, walks off, still without speaking. You sit, alone, just you and the club. You stare at it. It stares back. You remember the sound of the priest's boots on the chapel steps, the way he tucked the ball into his robe like a relic, like a clue. You stand, walk to the shelf, move aside the dried herbs. Behind them, your oldest pouch, one ball left inside. Worn, misshapen, but trustworthy. You hold it for a moment, then hide it again. Not because you're playing again, you're not. But if you were, you'd want to be ready. Night falls. Outside, the wind shifts. The door creaks. Your wife says, "I heard the Reeve passed by today." You nod. You don't ask if he stopped, because if he had, you'd be colder. She continues, "He asked about our pantry." You pause. "That's not normal." She shrugs. "Nothing is. Not anymore." You blow out the candle. The room goes dark, but you swear you can still see the outline of the club on the table, like it's waiting, or watching, or counting. You wake up early, not because you want to, because the wind insists. It howls through the cracks in the walls like a town crier who's lost his job but still wants you to feel guilty. You stretch. Your back cracks like old wood. Your knee throbs in iambic pentameter. You look over. The club is still on the table, wrapped now, silent. You go outside. Because if you stay in, your thoughts will start pacing. And if your thoughts start pacing, they might be seen. The village smells like cold firewood and old decisions. You walk to the well. Not for water, for visibility. Because in this village, being seen doing something innocent is the closest you get to a defense strategy. You draw water, slowly, like someone without a care in the world and definitely without a secret sport addiction. Jeffrey walks by, still carrying that same turnip, still suspicious of its shape. He squints at you. You nod. He stops. Reeve says someone's been swinging again. You pause. With arms, you ask. He frowns. Don't joke. The Lord sees everything. You glance at the turnip. So does he, apparently. Jeffrey moves on. The well groans. You draw another bucket, just in case hydration counts as repentance. You carry it home. Half spill it on the cat. It hisses. You hiss back. The cat wins. Inside, your wife is kneading bread. She doesn't speak, but the dough absorbs her judgment. You sit, quietly. The window creaks open slightly. The wind peeks in. Smells you. You hear voices in the street. 2 men, talking softly. Then one louder. I saw the swing. He went full arc, into the wind. Your heart thumps. You imagine a crowd, a trial, a judge wearing sheep's wool and a smirk. You imagine them asking, did you or did you not use a backswing that could startle livestock? You shake it off. You get up, start sweeping. Even though there's nothing to sweep, your wife says, you're acting like someone who has something to explain. You freeze, then sweep faster. She doesn't look up. Later, there's a knock. You flinch. You open it. It's a child, holding something small in his palm, a pebble, carved with a tiny spiral. He smiles. My mom said this keeps away curses. You nod slowly, very generous. He hands it to you, then runs. You stare at the pebble, then at your shelf, then at the wrapped club. You place the pebble beside it, because at this point, everything is part of the ritual. Even pretending you're not doing any. Even silence. Especially silence. You don't touch the club today. Not even once. You spend the morning stacking firewood, badly. The logs fall sideways. They form a sculpture that could be mistaken for a warning in the right lighting. Your wife watches you from the window. She doesn't say anything. She just folds dough like it insulted her ancestors. You try to make conversation. Did you hear about the sheep that wandered into the bakery? She doesn't laugh. Because that sheep was later accused of demonic possession. And because your delivery needs work. You go out again. Just walking. Hands empty. Posture casual. You nod at the baker. He nods back, but it's the kind of nod that says, if someone asked, I'd say you seem harmless, unless they asked very convincingly. You stop by the stream. Skip a stone. It skips once, then sinks like a confession. The cat appears, carrying something. You hope it's not a golf ball. You pray it's not a golf ball. It's a mouse, dead, but gifted. You nod at the cat. It blinks slowly. You take the mouse and bury it near the rosemary bush. You say a few words, just in case the mouse was a spy. On the way back, you pass the Reeve. He smiles. Too much. The kind of smile that knows your alibi before you even make it. He says, taking a break today? You nod. In a spiritual sense. He hums. Walks on. Walks on. You walk faster. You enter the house. Your wife says, they've been asking about you. You blink. Who's they? She stares at you. Exactly. You go to the shelf. You dust the jars. You arrange your herbs. You do everything a harmless person might do on a calm, normal day. You do not touch the club. You light a candle, then blow it out. You sit by the fire. You reread the same line of parchment 12 times. You hear footsteps, then nothing. Then the sound of one stone tapping against your door. You open it slowly. There's no one there, just a small object. Round. Leather. Worn. A golf ball. Your ball. The one the priest took. Returned. You pick it up. It's warm, or you are. You bring it inside. Set it on the table beside the club. You stare at both. You do not speak. You do not breathe too loud. You just listen to the silence accusing you without saying a word. That night you dream of nothing. No balls, no swings, no sheep judging your follow-through. Just blackness, and the faint sound of clapping. Slow, offbeat, possibly sarcastic. You wake before dawn. Again, you don't even pretend to sleep anymore. It feels suspicious. The club is still on the table, the ball beside it. They haven't moved, which is somehow more unnerving than if they had. You boil water, add mint. No one knows what mint is for anymore, but people assume it's holy, so you use a lot of it. You sip in silence. The cat is curled on your windowsill like a decorative sin. You open the door. There's a chicken outside. It stares at you. You stare back. It blinks. You close the door. The knock comes exactly 4 minutes later. 3 knocks. Not aggressive, not timid. Official. You open it. The Reeve. 2 men behind him. Neutral expressions. Neutral hands. He says, "We're visiting homes, routine checks." You smile. The kind of smile that's one layer above screaming. Of course. They enter. They don't ask, they just do. One man walks to the fire, stirs the ashes, finds nothing. The other examines your shelf, your jars, your bundles of time. He picks one up, sniffs, frowns. Too strong, you say, "It's time." He nods like that's the problem. The Reeve sits at your table, across from the club. He doesn't touch it, just looks. "That's not a weapon," you say. "I didn't say it was." Silence. He asks, "Have you been busy?" You shrug. As busy as one can be in a world where even sweeping looks suspicious. He smiles, but only with the mouth. His eyes are off duty. He gestures to the club. "Still playing?" You stare at him, then at the ball, then back at him. "I haven't touched it." He says. Everyone's saying that. One of the men opens your cupboard, finds bread, smells it, returns it. It's unclear what he was looking for, or what would have proved guilt. The Reeve stands, nods once. "We're all under strain," he says. "Let's not add to it." You nod. The door closes behind them. You sit, you exhale, you stare at your tea. It's cold. You whisper, "Add to it how?" The cat looks up. You stare at the club. You realize they're not investigating. They're just visiting the scene early. You don't leave the house that day. Not because of fear, because of pattern. Too many days out in the field and people start remembering. Too many days inside and people start wondering. So today, you vanish into neutrality. You slice turnips, you sort stones, you rewrap your club even tighter this time, like it might confess under pressure. Your wife doesn't ask questions, but she sets your bread down harder than usual. That's her way of praying you'll stop before the village starts. You glance out the window. Nothing strange, just stillness, but not peace. Stillness with ears. Outside, 2 boys are playing with sticks. One swings like he's seen you do. The other says, "That's Gauf, you'll go to jail." They laugh. You don't. Midday arrives. Someone walks by your window, slowly. You don't look. You just hold your breath until the silence resets. You check your pouch, still 1 ball inside, your emergency round, your last resort. You place it beside the pebble the child gave you. They look like opposites, innocence and implication. You eat in silence. The stew tastes like wet wood. You try to read. The parchment blurs. You try to nap. Your heartbeat refuses. You light a candle. It flickers sideways. A sign or just wind? You don't ask. Because if you start asking, the house might start answering. You wipe down your shelf, you fix your herbs, you realign the spoon that keeps sliding off center. You open the door, not to go anywhere, just to remind the village you have a door. No one is in sight, except Ruth. Across the green, she sees you. She hesitates, then nods, a soft one, the kind that says, "I still remember when you were harmless." You nod back. The door closes, the candle gutters again. You don't relight it. Later, as dusk leans in, you hear voices outside. Not angry, not loud, just deciding. About what? You. But not directly. They're deciding around you, beside you, without you. And you know that feeling. It's the same one you had the night before they burned Jeffrey's cousin's fishing net because it smelled wrong. You sit by the club. You place the ball in your palm. You whisper to no one, it was just a game. The house listens and says nothing. You sleep lightly, the kind of sleep that doesn't soften. It hovers above your chest like a question you forgot to answer. You wake before the rooster, but not before the guilt. The club is still on the table, the ball beside it. The pebble, the spoon. The list grows longer. You go outside. The air is thick. The kind of thick that means people have been talking. The baker won't look at you. The smith will, but only to frown. Even the dog by the well barks half-heartedly, as if unsure whether to fear or mourn you. You go to the stream. No one there. You skip a stone. It hits a fish. The fish doesn't move. You decide not to apologize. You walk through the grove, where you used to practice your short game, quietly, illegally, joyfully. Now the grass is taller, the paths are cold, and even the birds seem nervous. You pass the chapel. The door is open. You don't enter, because entering invites eye contact, and you've run out of explanations that fit in a glance. Back at home, your wife has baked. It smells good, like surrender, like an attempt at normalcy. You eat quietly. She asks, "Do you miss it?" You blink. "Miss what?" She doesn't answer, because she knows you do. You chew and think about wind and arcs and that one time you got the ball into the tree knot on the first try. Your wife says, "You weren't always this watched." You nod. "That's because no one used to think I was good at anything." She smiles. The kind of smile people wear at funerals when the stories get too honest. You go outside. 3 villagers are gathered near the square. One sees you. He nudges the other. You wave. They don't wave back. Just turn and pretend they were never looking. But they were. All of them are. Because in a world where everyone's pretending to be safe, you're the one holding evidence of a time when joy was still allowed. And that makes you dangerous, not because of what you did, but because of what you remind them they can't do anymore. You walk back home. The door creaks behind you. You relight the candle. You stare at the flame. It dances, free, unbothered. You say to it, I know, your turn's coming." The cat meows from the loft, or laughs. Hard to tell. The day fades, and tomorrow you might swing again, just once. Because if they're going to burn you anyway, you might as well land the perfect shot first. The next morning, you leave the club at home. You don't wrap it, don't tuck it into your bag, don't glance at it before leaving. You just don't touch it. Which, in this village, might be the loudest thing you've ever done. You step outside. The wind is stiff, the grass is damp, the sky looks undecided. You head toward the green, not the forbidden one, the regular one, where people talk, buy turnips, trade gossip. You walk slowly, like you're allowed to be outside, like you're a man with no agenda. And that's what makes people nervous. You pass Ruth. She nods, then looks away too quickly. You pass the priest. He doesn't nod, but he watches, long enough to feel like an audit. You reach the baker's stall. He's selling something he calls bread. You buy one. Even though you know it'll taste like guilt, you chew. It's dry. But today, everything is. Someone behind you whispers, "He doesn't have the stick." Someone else replies, "That's worse." You pretend not to hear, because hearing makes you part of it. You sit on a low stone, chew slowly, swallow deliberately, the way innocent people do. A child walks by with a hoop and stick. He rolls it across the grass. Someone scolds him. That's how it starts. You nearly laugh. You nearly cry. You don't do either. You just eat your bread, like it's the only defense left. A man approaches, older, gray, heavy coat, heavier voice. He says, "Used to be, we played without fear." You look up. He's not smiling, but he's not scowling either. You nod. He nods, then walks off, as if the conversation never happened. But now you both carry it. You stand, leave the rest of the bread on the stone, for birds or messages. You walk home. The street is quiet, the kind of quiet that smells like plans. Your wife is sweeping the threshold. Not the floor, the threshold. You ask, "Is it a ritual?" She shrugs. "Depends who's watching." You step inside. You don't speak. You don't touch the club, but you can feel it. Like a thought in the shape of wood. You boil water. Lavender, chamomile, something to soften the mind. You sip. You wait. Because you know, today was your last chance to be harmless. And now? They'll need to decide whether you're dangerous enough to make the punishment feel justified. The afternoon air feels wrong, not sharp, not stormy, just expected. Like the world is holding its breath and waiting for you to inhale first. You open the window. A small breeze slips in, carries the smell of yeast and suspicion. Far off, someone is hammering something. Could be a fence, could be a stage, could be your ending. You don't ask. You tend to the shelf, rearrange jars. Even though no one's coming to inspect them, you grind dried mint until it's dust, then wonder if that's a metaphor for you. The cat watches from above the hearth, tail twitching, eyes narrowed. You ask it, "What would you do if they came tonight?" It licks its paw. You take that as not help. You light a candle, then blow it out, then light it again. The game has rules. You just don't know who wrote them anymore. You eat a slice of bread, only slightly stale, only mildly ominous. Your wife says nothing all day. She just moves quietly, as if volume might draw attention from forces she no longer believes in, but respects anyway. Evening creeps in. The sky turns pewter. The clouds hang low like gossip too heavy to float. You step outside. A group of villagers stands near the church, talking, glancing, breaking eye contact before it forms. One holds a bundle of sticks. One has a bucket. You pretend not to see, because seeing would mean remembering later. You return home. You sit. The club is still on the table, the ball beside it, the pebble, the spoon. You've started calling it your altar. The door creaks, not from use, just anticipation. Then 3 knocks, not loud, not hesitant, the kind that means you already know who it is. You open the door. It's Ruth. She's holding a sack. Her eyes are glassy, her hands firm. She steps inside, uninvited, but not unwelcome. She places the sack on the table. You open it. Inside, a loaf, a candle, and your missing second ball. You look up. She shrugs. Figured you'd want to be whole. You nod. You don't ask how she got it. She doesn't ask what you'll do. You both know this isn't a gift. It's a gesture, a warning, a blessing, a way to say, "I hope you don't disappear." She leaves without another word. The door closes. You sit with the club. 2 balls now, and no excuses left. The cat jumps down, knocks over a jar. You let it break, because tonight, you might need the sound. Night falls like wet wool, Heavy, scratchy, unasked for. You don't light the candle, not yet. Let the dark settle first. Let it look around. See that you've made room for it. The club lies across your lap, like a story you're not sure how to end. You hold it gently, like memory, like grief. You close your eyes. For a moment you're back in the pasture, long before the band, before the priest, before the whispers. Just you, the gorse bushes, and that one impossible shot that actually landed in the hole you didn't dig. You exhale. Then a creak, not wood, not wind, footsteps outside, measured, soft, like a person trying not to sound like a mob. You don't move. The fire is still cold. The room is still still. You hear a voice. Low, familiar. The Reeve, speaking to someone else. Hasn't been seen playing, but that doesn't mean he stopped. A pause, then another voice. Intent counts. You almost laugh. Almost. They keep walking. You watch their shadows stretch across your window, like accusations. Thin but long-lasting, they pass. You listen. Silence returns. But it's the kind that lingers near the door, waiting to be needed again. You rise, stretch your back, feel every vertebra disagree. You set the club down, not away, just nearby. You light the candle. The flame flickers sideways. You whisper, I know, me too. You sit, stir the last of your tea, watch the herbs swirl like a constellation drowning. You think about running, then laugh. Where? Into the woods or the next village? They just send a letter ahead. A warning, man with club. Do not let him swing. You glance at the door. Still closed. Still holding. But for how long? Your wife steps into the room. She doesn't sit. She doesn't ask. She just says, they're building something in the square. You nod. They say it's for firewood. You nod again. She adds, but no one's cooking. Neither of you speaks for a while. She leaves a blanket on the chair, then goes to bed. You sit, wrapped in shadows and tension and dust. You sip your tea. You listen to the night listening back, and you realize you haven't played in days. You haven't touched the ball. You've stayed quiet, careful, small, and it hasn't helped. So maybe, just maybe, tomorrow you'll go swing again, just once. In the open. Not because you want to win, but because if they're going to call you a player, you might as well be one. Morning arrives sideways, no sunlight, just a gray smear across the sky, like the day itself was reluctantly permitted. You rise. Knees crack, back stiff. The club is still by the door, the blanket still folded. Your tea, cold from memory. You step outside. The village is awake but pretending not to be. No one says hello. No one says anything. Even the dog by the butcher's is silent, which is not a good sign. You walk slowly, just enough to seem calm, just slow enough to be noticeable, as if daring someone to say something. They don't, but they look, like people counting your steps and trying to remember if blasphemy ever looked this tired. You pass the green. It's empty. The merchant stalls are there, but the merchants aren't. That's worse. Someone's drawn a line in the dirt, curved, like a swing path. Someone else's shoe print near it. Then, a ball, sitting neatly on the edge of the path. It's yours, but you didn't place it. You look around. Nothing. No one. You crouch. Stare at it. You don't touch it, because if you do, you'll be guilty of knowing it's yours. You stand, walk away, leave it behind, as if that will make it less real. You pass Jeffrey. He says, they say someone was playing last night. You don't answer. He adds, they say it was good form. You pause. That hurts more than the accusation, because you haven't swung in days. And now someone else is out there, taking your crime. You go home. The door creaks. The floor creaks. Even your breath feels like it might confess. Your wife is stirring something. Not soup. Something thinner. She says, they're calling a meeting. You nod. She adds, they say it's about unrest. You don't ask if your name was said. You already know it wasn't. Not yet, because it doesn't need to be. You sit, stare at the hearth. The fire refuses to start. It knows. You try again. It sparks, then dies. You laugh once. Dry. You whisper, maybe the fire's on their side now. The cat yawns, refuses to pick a side. You step out again, just to walk. Someone coughs when they see you. Someone else drops their bread. You nod to both, because at this point, manners might be your last defense. You walk to the edge of the field. Look toward the hills, the course, the old stones, the gorse patch. You don't go, but your body remembers the way. Your fingers twitch, your shoulders flex, you swing, in your mind, once, clean, straight. Just enough to remember why this all started. Not for rebellion, not for pride, just for the rhythm. For the moment when you disappear and the ball becomes the only thing in motion. You open your hand, you didn't know you'd been holding a ball this whole time. The sky stays gray all day, no rain, no sun, just that same uncommitted gloom that makes every shadow look like it has an opinion. You stay indoors, mostly. Your wife says little, but her hands move fast. She kneads bread like it insulted her mother. You stare at the window, it doesn't stare back. The villagers don't come, they don't knock, but they pass. Often, you hear their steps, too slow to be casual, too many to be random. You light a candle, not for light, for company. The club is still near the door, wrapped, still. You haven't touched it in days, which is why it feels heavier now, as if its weight grows with every accusation you don't answer. Evening creeps in. You hear a bell. Not the church bell, a small one, handheld, personal. You know what it means. Someone has seen something, which means everyone has. You eat dinner, mostly to prove you can. You chew slowly, taste nothing. Your wife sits across from you. She says, I heard they're collecting names. You pause, then say, they already have them. She nods, tears bread, doesn't eat it. You finish your stew. You get up, not quickly, not defensively, just like a man who wants to look useful for no specific reason. You clean the bowl. The cat watches from the shelf. It blinks. Once, you look at the club, still untouched, still yours, still the only thing in this house that no one else would dare pick up. You wonder, if you gave it to the Reeve, would that make you innocent or just complicit? You sit down. Exhale. You whisper, I could have burned it, and maybe you should have. Back when people still believed that burning things made the fear go away. But you didn't, because that club wasn't just wood, it was memory. And memory doesn't burn clean. Later that night, you hear footsteps outside, multiple. Then voices, then silence. Then one word, not shouted but spoken loud enough to reach your door. Soon. That's it. No names. No knocking, just a promise or a warning or both. You don't open the door, not tonight. You sit by the hearth, you hold the candle, it drips on your hand, you don't flinch. The club leans against the wall, quiet as ever. And in the quiet you realize they don't care if you swing again, they care that you might. You wake to silence, not the kind that invites sleep, the kind that feels like sleep's funeral. The village hasn't made a sound all morning. No carts, no birds, no footsteps. Just the long, low hush of people not saying something together. You get dressed, slowly. You choose clothes that don't draw attention, but also don't look like surrender. Your wife hands you a satchel. You ask, what's this for? She shrugs, just in case. You open it. Inside, bread, dried herbs, a pouch with your initials, and a small folded note. You don't read it. Not yet. You place the pouch gently on the table, beside the club, beside the pebble, beside the second ball. You're running out of space. You eat, or pretend to, Every bite chews like rope. You open the door. The air smells like ash, but faint, like someone lit a test fire. You walk toward the green. No one stops you, no one greets you, but they're there. You see them in doorways, behind curtains, in the reflections of water pails. One man nods, one woman scowls, neither matters, because they've already voted with silence. You reach the center of the village. There's a platform, wooden, fresh, too clean. Atop it, nothing. But that's worse, because it's ready, waiting. The reeve stands nearby, not looking at you, but also not looking. You walk past him, casual, unarmed, except memory, except knowledge, except posture. You circle back to your house, still standing, still quiet, still yours. For now. Inside, the candle has burned down, the wax spread like a confession you didn't authorize. You sit, stare at the door, then the club, then the note in your satchel. You unfold it. It says, "If you go, go standing." No name, but the handwriting is hers. You fold it again, place it in your pocket. Right next to your last ball, you rise, stretch, pick up the club just to feel it. The weight, the texture, the memory. You don't swing, not yet. You open the door again. The village hasn't moved, but it has tightened, like a net drawn slow enough to look like weather. You take one step forward, then another, then pause, because from across the green, someone is watching. Not a priest, not a reeve. Maybe 12, holding a stick, not a club, not yet. But he holds it like it matters, like it might be worth the risk. You nod to him. He doesn't nod back. He just watches, like someone trying to memorize how to be brave. You return inside, close the door, place the club on the table one last time. Tomorrow, you'll decide. But tonight, they're the ones losing sleep. The next morning smells like ash, again. Not strong, not obvious, but present, like someone testing how much smoke a secret can hold before it becomes a story. You step outside. No one's there, but the green has been swept. Too clean, too deliberate, like they want the ground ready for whatever's about to happen, or for whoever. You walk slowly, you don't carry the club, but your shoulders remember it. Your stride still adjusts for its weight. You reach the edge of the field. No sheep today, no wind, just waiting. You crouch, touch the dirt, cold, damp, still honest. A voice behind you says, "You've been quiet." You turn. The priest, alone. Hands tucked in sleeves. Face soft but sharpened by practice. You nod. He adds, "And that worries them." You smile, just a little. "Silence is the only thing I haven't been accused of yet." He steps closer. Stops at the distance polite people use when they no longer believe in conversation. They think you'll do something. You look back at the ground. "I already did. Years ago. I played." He tilts his head. "That's not the something they mean." You stand, dust your knees. "I'm not here to argue," he nods. That too worries them. You walk past him. He doesn't follow. You return home. Your wife is tending the hearth. She doesn't look up. She says, "I cleaned the satchel." You nod. She adds, "It's packed. Not because I think you'll leave, but because they think you might." You say, "I haven't done anything." She looks at you, not with anger, not with fear, just the exhaustion of someone who's run out of synonyms for please. You sit at the table. The club is still there, unwrapped now. Plain, wood and twine and memory, the two balls beside it, the pebble, the note. You stare, not at the items, at their arrangement, at the altar they've become, because that's what guilt looks like when no one can define the crime. You hear footsteps outside, one pair, then three, then the kind of silence that only happens when people are deliberately nearby. You don't rise. The door doesn't open, but you feel it, like gravity, like prophecy. You pick up the ball, hold it, just for a second. Then place it back. Your wife lights a second candle. Not for light, just for balance. You sit together, say nothing, and wait for someone else to decide what it all means. By evening, the village is smiling again. Too many smiles, too wide, too white. The kind of smiles you get when people have agreed on something ugly and wrapped it in ribbon. You see them talking, not whispering anymore. Now it's loud enough for you to hear your own name without leaning in. You sweep your doorstep again. You arrange your tools again. You boil water you won't drink just to keep the air busy. At twilight, a boy walks by and drops something in your yard. You don't move to retrieve it. You wait until he's long gone. Then approach. It's a doll, made of straw, tied with red thread. Its face is blank. Its arms are missing. You do not bring it inside. You place a bowl over it and leave it there. Let it stew in implication. Someone knocks. You don't jump. You don't sigh. You open the door. It's the Reeve. Of course. He holds a candle, not lit. He says, "There's to be a gathering tonight. A decision." You don't ask what kind. You don't ask if you're invited. You just say, "Will there be bread?" He doesn't laugh, but his mouth twitches like it remembered how once long ago it knew how. You close the door behind him. You sit, you breathe, you count everything in the room. Not because you need to, but because that's the only way to feel like some part of the world is measurable. The shelf holds 9 jars of herbs, 3 spoons, 1 toad, 1 potato, 2 feathers, 1 doll under a bowl, and now your own reflection in the window, watching yourself count. You boil something again. Just water. You pour it into a bowl. Drop in a sprig of lavender. It curls and wilts. Nothing magical, just botany. But even that feels subversive now. The cat is gone again. You hope it stays gone this time. Outside, you hear drums. Not loud, not many. Just enough to make your spine remember where it is. You open the window a crack. You hear someone reading something. Then cheers. Then silence. Then nothing. For hours. You sit with the candle lit. You let it burn all the way down. Just before midnight, another knock. You open it. No one there. On the ground, a stone. Flat. Smooth. With your name scratched faintly on one side. You pick it up. It's still warm. From hand or fire, you can't tell. You place it on the shelf. You don't label it. It labels itself. The flame gutters. The wind has teeth. You sit in the dark, surrounded by all the things they think mean something. You think they are building a case, but not one of evidence, a case of meaning. And once people agree on meaning, proof is irrelevant. You don't sleep. Not because of fear. You've moved past that. It's something colder now, something still, like the silence between thunder and its echo. You lie on your straw mattress, listening to the sounds the village makes when it thinks it's done speaking. Owls, creaking wood, a cough from 2 houses down, and footsteps that don't quite make sense. Someone walks past your door 3 times, once fast, once slow, once without footsteps at all. You sit up. The fire is out again. You don't bother with it this time. Let the darkness do its job. There's a whisper from the back wall. Not a voice. Just the wood settling. But tonight, even that feels like an accusation. You light a candle. The cat appears as if summoned by spite. It's carrying a beetle the size of a small sin. You don't ask. You just nod. You check your shelf. Everything's still there. Toad, feather, stone, spoon. The doll under the bowl. Still watching. Still watched. You stare at the door. Then the window. Then the shadow just beyond the window. You rise slowly. Step forward. The shadow moves. Not away, just deeper. As if it realizes it's being observed. You open the window. There's nothing there. Just air, smoke from someone else's chimney, and the smell of something burning that shouldn't be. You go outside, because what else can they accuse you of? The night is silver and indifferent. You walk slowly, past the green, past the church, toward the tree line. No torches, no watchers, just you, and the shape at the edge of the woods. You approach it. It's a figure. Someone kneeling. You pause, then speak. Do you need help? The figure turns. It's Jeffrey, holding nothing this time. No potato, no grievance, just eyes. I thought you'd be here, he says. You say nothing. He gestures at the ground. I buried something. You blink. What? He shrugs. Something I thought meant something, but I don't think it does anymore. You stand there waiting for the rest. It doesn't come. He stands slowly, nods to you like a man who's dropped a weapon, and walks back toward the village. You stay. Alone. In the dark. And for the first time in days, you realize they're not sure anymore. Not about you. Not about what you are, what you mean, what they want you to be. And that uncertainty, that's your only ally. You walk home. The wind carries no whispers. The candle has gone out. The cat is asleep. You sit at the table, unroll a scrap of parchment, and begin writing down everything. Not spells, not defenses, just the truth. Because if they insist on telling your story, you'd rather leave a version they're too afraid to burn. Morning arrives like someone tiptoeing across a creaky floor, hoping not to be noticed by consequences. The sky is overcast. The air tastes like tin. You've slept for maybe an hour, or maybe not at all. It doesn't matter. You boil water. You stir it without looking. You add herbs you no longer name aloud. You sip. The flavor is nothing, and that's somehow comforting. Someone walks past your hut whistling. A bright tune, sharp, like a smile with teeth. You stare at the door. You expect another knock. It doesn't come. Not yet. Instead, a voice from outside. A child's voice. Which? Just the word, no question in the tone. More like a label being confirmed. You do not respond. You wait. You hear retreating footsteps, then laughter, then silence. You open the door. There's a mark in the dirt. A spiral, again. But this time, not carved. Drawn in flour. You blink. Because that's not just superstition. That's symbolic cost. Flour is expensive. Someone gave up food to mark you. You leave it untouched. You walk around it. You walk to the market. It's open. Barely. A few stalls. A few heads that turn too slowly. You nod at the reeve. He does not nod back. You buy onions. Not because you need them, but because it's one of the few things you can do in public that isn't an omen. Ida sees you. She clutches her shawl tighter. Not for warmth. You return home. The spiral is gone. Swept away. By who? You do not know. Inside, the cat has placed a beetle on your pillow. You think, this is affection. Or prophecy. Maybe both. You begin drying herbs again. Routine is your armor now. Someone walks past and coughs loudly. Someone else spits. Then apologizes to the ground. Even the dirt now receives apologies for proximity to you. You begin sorting your shelves by usefulness, not alphabet. You label things with short, decisive names: pain, sleep, fear, weight. You keep a list by the door, not of names, of moments. When the owl stopped outside, when the child asked, when the priest blinked, when the fire wouldn't start, when the reeve didn't nod. The list is long. You don't write what it means, just that it happened. Because soon they'll say none of it did, and when they do, you want something real to hold in your hands, even if it's only paper and your own trembling. You wake before light. Again, the cold is softer today, the kind that sits beside you instead of warning you. You dress, same clothes, same satchel, same club, this time in hand. You don't wrap it, you don't hide. You walk out the door and feel the village inhale. The sky is gray-blue like the inside of an old bruise. Birds sing. Or whine. Same melody. You walk to the edge of the green, not fast, not slow. The way someone walks when they know they're being watched but refuse to flinch. You arrive. The field is empty. Too empty. Someone has cleared the stones. Someone has swept the dirt, made it flat, level, like a stage. You take your ball from the satchel. You place it on the grass. Not hidden, not quiet. Just present. You take your stance. No one stops you. But windows blink, curtains twitch, somewhere. A door doesn't quite close. You raise the club. Pause. Breathe. You swing. Clean. Slow. Full. The ball arcs. Time doesn't. It lands near the stump. Rolls. Stops. You stand. Still. No cheers. No curses. Just wind. Then, a child's voice. Was that it? You turn. The boy is there from before. No stick this time. You nod. That was it. He looks at the ball, then at your club, then back to your face. Will they come now? You shrug, maybe. He tilts his head. Was it worth it? You don't answer. You just hand him the club. He takes it, carefully, like it's not just wood, but weight and memory. He holds it. And for a second you see it. A world where no one burns for the shape of their hobbies. You walk home, slow, lighter. The village watches, but does not move. You open your door, sit by the fire. Your wife doesn't speak, she just brings you tea and a blanket and the pebble. You smile, she nods, you sip, let it cool in your mouth, let everything soften, even the day, even the fear. The candle burns low, the light flickers warm, and as your eyes close you feel it, the swing, still moving, somewhere through someone else, quiet, free, unstoppable.